and like Keller Williams New Tricks. There was a Keller Williams office or a Keller Williams sign that was there. Some Keller Williams training was going on. It's like, oh, this is crazy. Well, then this guy walks out, and I was like, so you Keller Williams? Yeah, well, anyways, long story short, he was the OP. Then we started chatting. Well, then I ended up having a meeting with him the next day. And we started chatting real estate. They know Bo and Tara. And I'm surprised I haven't met him yet. Super people. The Howards, certainly. They have a big team. They own multiple market centers. So, yeah, now I go up there and teach. And it was a personal trip, and that was a write off. Of course, I write everything off. It's a trip because usually I'm doing some kind of real estate, whether it's looking, talking, or hurting. So I usually write. Just you got to be careful of, because then if you want to do something like buy a house and it shows you didn't make a lot, then you got to be careful there. Right. So okay, it's 9 o'clock. Let's get going. Okay, so one of the first things I want to show you, like I said, this book and the well, first I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Craig Eberle, an agent at the Keller Williams Southern Indiana office. A little bit of my background: I've been in business for on 24 years now. I started as a single agent. How I got into real estate. I left one job before I was in real estate. I did youth work in the church. I was like, I was real involved in high school and then college, and then 5 years after college, I was like, I want to do something else. Didn't know what I was going to do. Quit my job, sold my house. I drove Route 66 like 3 months to figure out what I wanted to do cross country. And halfway through, I was like, I got to figure out what I'm going to do when I get home. So decided I was going to go home. So this is my story on how I got into real estate. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I was like, I'm going to go to Barnes & Noble and walk around the topics and to get some ideas. And I literally was in Flower Mound, Texas, walking around the topics at Barnes & Noble. And I stopped, there was a little real estate section, it said real estate. And investment books, real estate books. It's right when the MRE book came out. So it was probably there. I didn't see that one, or maybe I did and didn't know what it was at that time because I wasn't even in real estate yet. And I was like, real estate, I think would be a realtor. I knew very little about it. I had an interaction with the realtor when I wasn't going to sell my house. The hospital bought my house. And because they were taking over that street. Anyway, so I got to involved in real estate for a little bit. But that's not all I knew. My agent, who was one of my best friends, helped me buy that house. But anyways, long story short, it's like you get to work with people. I get to be my own boss. Part of our work, before I can make. I like those things. And I was like, I think we're real. Finished the trip, came back, signed up for a 2-week course in person. They did that in Indianapolis, 2 weeks. Took my test the next day. I was real. It's kind of crazy. The low cost, the low entry point of this business, cost standpoint, in a business that can yield so much. That's where the opportunity is. You make great money in real estate. I've made great real estate. I've struggled in real estate. Right now it's a tricky market, and it's not where I want to be. And I have transactions, but we've got expenses and building the team again, things like that. It's just like juggling all that stuff. That's what the core models of the goes important. The budget model, economic model, and creating a plan around that. But all that takes time. That's where it gets to be a lot. But so yeah, and then started in real estate. Keller Williams came to the Louisville market, and actually this was the first Keller Williams. This office here was the first Keller Williams in Louisville. Alan Mertz, a good friend of mine, was one of the core group members, and he said, "Craig, good, Keller Williams." I was like, "Well, I just do Indiana. We're not in Indiana, so well, you should start." He's like, "I'm never going to want to be a broker of an office. I don't want to start a real estate company." Fast forward years later, I ended up buying the market center. I was hired in as the team leader. So then they came over to Indiana. I was looking at it. I went to training. So I was like, oh my gosh, this was because I was doing anywhere between 50 and 60 by myself. It was a good market, and couldn't do it. I'm stressed. As a single agent. This is from statistics in the real estate industry and through the MRA book and Gary Keller and all that stuff. Is a single agent can do 36 transactions well. Okay, that's 3 a month. Okay, there's agents, that do more. Typically, and I experienced this when I was doing 50, 60. One of three things start happening once you start getting beyond the 36, 3 a month, and it's customer service goes down, customer service goes down, good leads fall through the cracks. You don't get to them, and your quality of life goes down because you're just working, waking up at midnight, all that. Never read that out. It's the worst. Okay, so then that's what was happening to me. Then I went to a class that Linda McKissick taught whenever the Keller Williams came over Southern Indiana, and it basically outlined because it was the business planning clinic, which outlined the 4 models in the MRA group. And I was like, this is the blueprint. It's like, oh my gosh. Okay, so then I'm like, and they were in Indiana, so okay, I'm all in. I'm gonna go. Well, then they started talking to me, and they're like, hey, Craig, you launched the company with us. And I was like, okay, I was ready for a change. So I stepped in, launched it, grew it to the second company in Southern Indiana in less than 2 years. It's exciting times. We're growing a lot. So anyways, long story short, I ended up getting back. I just recently, 2 years ago, sold the Southern Indiana business to Tara. I had a team that I had Rob Gaines running, and it was 19 people. I was, so I was going to step back into that. I stepped back into that. I was like, kind of felt like an outsider on the team, and I was like, and I couldn't really come in and start making changes on the work. So I said, hey, I'm just going to step back and just sell real estate by myself. Keeping will probably come with 11, and we're just going to do that. Well, then I did that, and then had a pretty good database over 23 years, and I was just like, working on it. So I decided to build a team. So that's kind of what I do. I'm kind of selling real estate just as you guys are. So I'm kind of a single agent. I'm selling real estate, but then trying to provide leads and give leads to keep it automating. So team, just build a team. But at the end of the day, it's all going to come down to just what this course is. It's the exact same things that I'm talking about. And this is a class for top producer, to take. Like I should be taking this class as a participant. I've taken bold 14 times. Okay. Let's remember Rob. Okay. I'm taking bold 14 times because of the mindset, the material, which is really the same material that's in here. This just breaks it down to your local level. Okay. So I want to make sure we cover all the information, but that's just a little bit about me. I'll touch on some too. But one of the things I want to show you is EW tools, and this is kind of a part of so you get escape Rob the
yeah, you should. Oh, are you looking at this?
I just wanted to go to my other screens.
Maybe.
Okay, so
There you go.
okay. How many have logged into your KW dashboard?
On that note, anyone who registered to go to Eventbrite, you're about showing where the manual is.
Yeah.
Okay. I had Kent email the manual to everyone who registered through Eventbrite, but if they didn't do that,
Okay.
they still need to know where.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this will be good because I'm going to show you one of the values being at Keller Williams is the resources that's there to take advantage of going. When I first came to KW, it was a lot. And I was trying to learn a lot because I didn't have that amount of information. And I will spend, a weekend at home on a Saturday. I just started at the top, what I'm gonna show you, and just clicked on each one, looked through it, and it really educated me on like, it let me know what tools were available. Okay, so this is what I'm getting ready to show you now is in the course, but I'm going to show you just so you know where it is. But I'll show you how I got it. So the way I always get there is just I go to agent.kw, agent.kw.com. Is that how do you all get the command? That's how I work, how to get to it. How do you get the command? It's probably already saved in your. Okay. Yeah, well, if you're ever somewhere and you're on a different computer and you want to get to it, you go to agent.kw.com and you click enter. Now, since I'm logged in, it's probably going to take me to the screen that I was already at. Yeah, it does. But that's where you go to log in. Okay. And then, so then it brings you into two sections. Okay. Connect is where lots of trainings and stuff are now. Okay. This is command. And this is where you go. Use command as your database, which there's command's a great database and marketing and all that. I mean, it's one-stop shop. And I kind of wish I was using it, but I had a director of operations that was really versed in another database. He signed us up for that. We started using that, and it's just a lot to switch. So I kind of wish I wasn't paying. I'm paying like $600 a month for a database. That's a very powerful database, and so is command. So that's part of being AW. So use command because it does some great stuff. It does a lot. There's just like a 66-day challenge that is on YouTube, and you just do one thing a day. And at the end of it, command at the highest level. And he just the guy's name. If you go look at command in YouTube 66-day challenge, it'll pull up and it's like 4.0 or whatever he's on now. And I forget what his name is, but that's great. But that's one more thing, that we have to create time for. But if you want to know your database, because your business is your database. So that's a great place to start. So if you're like, you know what, I really want to master a database, I want to master command, that's probably one of the best places to start. Or Connect has some good stuff too. So this is command. I'm not going to be teaching a command class, but your contacts, tasks, smart plans, referrals. Looking at this, it makes me stop paying $600. I might switch. Jeez.
As long as we're in here,
It's just overwhelming to switch. I mean, there's 22,000 people in there. So, but here's where, if you go to Connect, this is where a lot of this learning is, and then you can tag stuff, like stuff, and then it comes down to your learning. But this is where all the resources are. If you click browse all, self-study courses, all the topics in KW. And then all the course materials are there as well. Classes on listings, so it's identifying your listing or your basically what you want to focus on and then go study it. We're going to talk about that as a part of the class. Working with buyers, buyer toolkit, working with buyers course, probably resources in there, presentations and things like that. That way you're not starting from scratch. It's just a great place to start whenever you're needing, like, man, I need a buyer consultation. It's probably right here. Different topics around lead generation. So every one of these, of course, market of the moment, the one pagers that KW always talks about. And you can buy the book, but then they're also right here. Just find the one pagers you want to do and then follow the plan. Command, takes you 90 days with command. That's probably 90-day what to do once a day for 90 days. Topics, all this is all training in command. Okay. the KW events, a lot of times you can like go to family reunion and watch Gary Keller's speech, $1,000 or $800 to $1,000 to go to a family reunion. A lot of the bulk of it's uploaded at the end of family reunion. But you got to block the time to watch it. It's got to be a part of your business. Welcome new associates. That's probably a great place to start. If you're new. Wealth building, leverage. This is all about building a team and hiring. Crazy amount of stuff. This is where they say drinking from a fire hose. Okay, it's like drinking from a fire hose. Now, what I want to teach you is how to chunk it down and focus on the most important things. But this is where I want to show you, though. This is where you would go for your Ignite course. So here you click on Ignite. So if you don't, like I said, books are nice for courses like this. Okay, so you might go ahead and get the book. You can also purchase materials here at the office, but then you do not get but yeah, if you go right here and you go to Hi Amy, yeah, so it's like student manual, click on that. And there it is. Okay. So that's the manual that knows. Then it's like how you're going to read it.
It's like 354 pages of stuff.
Yeah, so that's a command. So let's now go to the slides. Okay, so this is all the disclaimers. It is important. This is things that I say, it's disclaimers on telemarketing and things like that. I don't know too much about the guidelines around where to check if someone's on a no-call list. I just kind of focus on my database and the spirit of people that know me mostly, or they, come through on a website or something like that. They've already granted permission. I'm not just going to the phone book with stuff and all people, but there are things to kind of be aware of. This is the course. This is your schedule. So let's talk about this. And you've got a big opportunity right now stepping into this course. Okay? I've taught this course multiple times. I've seen courses multiple times. I've taken bold multiple times. There's people that do it, take advantage of the opportunity, and have good results from it. And there's those that just come. And I've done it both ways. I've taken bold and sat there bold, not done the activities like I want to take my fouls. But I was there that year for just the inspiration and the knowledge. Okay, so you can sit in this course and learn from the instructors and get some value for it. Okay, that's just going to be knowledge. We don't need just knowledge. I don't. Knowledge isn't going to make my mortgage payment. You have the opportunity here. The most important thing of taking Ignite this month, or the next however long it is doing the activities, which we're going to talk about. It's having 10 conversations a day. And the second part of Ignite throughout this is also a working thing, but you can also check your emails and make some phone calls to people instead of calling potential clients or your sphere, and you feel like you're doing the work, but you're not. Okay, so you can make the choice of just doing it for knowledge. Okay? But I'm telling you, you do it just for the knowledge, that's great. But if you're like me, I need income. Okay, the activities lead to the results of income. And the thing with the real estate is, man, it doesn't happen fast enough. What we do today shows up in 90 days. So if we're slow right now, we don't have any pendings. Realistically, I'm 90 days out from having a pending. If I get something, if I'm doing activities today, like serious activities, reaching out, having real estate conversations. So you got to be aware of that as well. So what I want you to take out of what I'm saying right now is do the activities. And probably the most important thing you can do is block the time to do the activities. This is a part of my 6.5 steps class, and that is, if you had a job and you were getting paid $100,000 a year, and it was a job, went at 9 and you got off at 5. Okay. Do you think you have expectations of what you did and what you do every day from 9 to 5? Like you do this, and that's what you did, then you got a paycheck. Real estate's no different. It's just that we wear 2 hats. We wear the hat of the employee, but we also wear the hat of the business owner. So what you want to do is if doing the 10-10 for the 10 calls a day, 10 real estate conversations, 10 handwritten notes, if that was a part of your $100,000 a year job, and if you didn't do it, you got fired, do you think you would do those things? Absolutely. $100,000 a year, that's good income. You would do that every single day. If you had to report that to your boss, you would report it to your boss. Yep, I got my 10 note cards done. I had 10 conversations. This is who I talked to. And there's something with Facebook now and social media. It's, like 10 posts, make 5 comments and make a real estate related post yourself. That's part of the activities for Ignite. Okay. If you were making 100, think about it. This is the way I want you to think about it. Seriously, think about it. If you were getting paid $100,000 a year and that's what you had to do Monday through Friday, just 5 days a week, I think you would do it. I would do it. So why would we do it if we're signing up and doing this class? If it's because we're not serious, really don't want to succeed in real estate. It takes a commitment. My coach, Chuck Barrett, has had this conversation with me many times. It is, how committed are you? That's what I want you to think about. How committed are you to real estate? And that being, and some of you may just be in real estate part-time, that's okay too, but you still want to create a certain amount of income from that part-time. So whatever that is, that's your goal, that's great. But how committed are you? He always would say, on a scale of 1 to 10, Craig, how committed are you for doing that? Whatever we were talking. And if, after a while, I knew where it was going. I was like, well, I'm kind of an 8. It's like, okay, an 8. That's how committed you are. So if you were married and your wife came to you and your wife said, hey, honey, how committed are you to our marriage? And you said, I'm an 8. You say, how would that go over? Okay. So the question is, I guess what this course is in Ignite in this material, because it's a lot, is how committed are you to Ignite? Okay, because really it's all right here. It really is. And really you've got 5 hours a day, for work. Okay. And you really should have, if a job is 9 to 5, whatever that is, was that 8 hours a day? Yeah. If a job is 9 to 5, and that's 8 hours a day, really you have 8 hours a day. You were getting paid $100,000 for a year for a job. Okay, and then you just have to figure it out. I think that's one of the bad things about real estate is because it is so flexible. I go get my oil changed in the middle of the day. I'm kind of tired, so I sleep in till 9. And then I really get going at 11. I'm teaching some. Now I'm sharing some of my personal experiences and my personal struggles. Okay, and that's real. It's life happens as well. But then it comes down to my commitment. How committed am I to doing the things, and then just keep up on that. So, but yeah, this year your schedule. There's it's been said a couple of times to your instructors, right? You got some great instructors coming in for this course. I just want to challenge you not to just take the course for knowledge, do the activities. So if that is, because the class isn't every day, okay? So pretend like the class is every day. So if is it Monday, Wednesday, Friday? If it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, pretend Tuesday and Wednesday or Tuesday and Thursday is at night, and then come in and do the work as well, because you also got to do it on the day of the class, but the last part of the class is usually work time as well. But, come in 9 to noon, because it's our job, right? Come in 9 to noon and do the activities. Get caught up. If you didn't do 10 notes yesterday, do 20 on Tuesday. Okay? Because that's what leads to transactions. That's what leads to closings. That's what leads to someday that big commission check. You're like, oh my gosh, I've never seen a check that big. And one time I had a day of closings that it was nuts. I sold two listings and I had all 4 sides. And they were all over 350,000. And I brought my stepson, he was like in 9th grade, 10th grade at the time, one closings, and I had all the checks after closings. And I was trying to teach him, I was like, real estate's a good opportunity in case you wanted to get into it. Now you got into something else. It's great, but
Craig, was that a bunch of listings and beat me in Boltwood?
I was horrible at tracking. I'm horrible at the homework, do as I say, not as I do. Okay. But I do know, just like last week, I'm like, I had a lot of pendings. And I was like, holy cow, I'm back. Then they all closed. I was like, crap. Because for a couple of years I was not making an income because the market said it was, long story short, I had to use, so I got some bills right now. And I closed a lot of those listings and I paid those bills. I was like, crap, where's the money in my bank account? Crap, I need more pendings. And then I was, but I was busy because I tell you what, that's one of the things. That's where you get the ups and the downs of your business. So I was focusing on all those pendings, talking to sellers, talking to buyers, negotiating inspections, doing all those things. And I wasn't lead generating. That's where block lead generation each day works. Even if it's 2 hours a day or an hour a day, wasn't doing that. Keegan wasn't doing that. Collie wasn't doing that on the team. And now we're like, we got to turn some business back up. So what did I do last Tuesday? I had a couple hours, pulled out my paper files instead of my, database, one of my paper files, organized them on who I should call, went through, started calling. Today I got an appointment from that day just by making a phone call. And it was follow-up. And that's probably going to turn into a listing. Okay? Which then could turn into a buyer. Now someone calls me on that listing, and then that's 2 deals. Which could then potentially turn into like I had that word that at closing that was 4 transactions. So blocked time and doing the most important things. But anyway, so that's that on just the course and some ideas around really taking this course serious. So Ignite's broken down into 4 different sections: becoming the real estate expert, value proposition. Then it gets into lead generation. That's some other sessions. That's your most important. You don't get us. We don't sell houses as realtors. Okay? That's just that's what happens. That's not our job. That happens. What our job is, it's so simple. It's 2 things. You find a buyer who wants to buy a house, or a seller who wants to sell a house, and they commit to work. That's it. The rest just happens. The rest is just a process. It's a process you got to learn.
Right.
It's a process you got to learn, but it's a process. If someone's going to buy a house, because they're going to buy a house, you just need to work with the agent they work with to buy a house. Someone needs to sell a house, and if they decide they're going to use an agent, folks need to. They're going to use an agent to list their house. So our job every morning when we wake up is to find a buyer who wants to buy a house or a seller who wants to sell a house. And the more of those people we find, and we stay in touch with them, and we start working with them, and we find them the house, and we list the house, and then listing the house is the most amount of leverage because you get a ding, someone's showing your house. Like this happened on my, took a listing in Milton, Kentucky. I'm like, this is going to be a challenge. 8 acres, over 400,000, out in the middle of nowhere. Ding! Oh, I got a showing. They show it. Next day, Greg, there's an offer in your inbox. Okay. Well, I was watching a movie. Okay. And listings are so much leverage. And then that's going to be a sale. Now it's keeping it together. Crawl space issue. So we need to go back for a second inspection. A lot of water in the crawl space out there. That's just holding the deal together. Okay, which is important too. But getting the sellers, all I had to do. Right now, we're just in the process. So lead generation is a part of Ignite that covers a lot of sessions. Pay attention to that, do the activities. I'm going to go back, do the, what is it called, Amy? The 10-10. Here it is. The daily system. 10 conversations, 10 contacts added to your database, it's added to command, 10 handwritten notes, leave here today, don't wait till next week, go to, say Hallmark, I feel like from the 80s. Go to Hallmark, go to Walmart or Target, and buy a stack of cards. Man, when's the last time you got a handwritten note? I can't remember. It's usually from my financial advisor, and it's just a card with owner signature. That's not a furthest thing goes. You have the opportunity to write 10 a day. That's impactful. Go your business card. And so, and then the 10-5-1 social media engagement. Do you know what the 10-5-1 is? Like what? Oh, I just grabbed it. Okay, it's on a lot of pages. In the book, it's actually, it's an Amy section, which is the next class, and embrace your job. It's she's going to be covering.
Oh, 10 contact.
It's on page 2-12. Section 2-12 is kind of covered. Then you underneath it, you write your goals for appointments, agreements, or you track how many appointments you said, how many agreements. An agreement is a buyer that agrees to work with you with a buyer, signed buyer agreement, and then how many closings that you have. So this is something really, it's like Gary said in that video he has on YouTube. If this, I mean, this is it. Monday through Friday, do this. You're going to sell real estate. You're going to sell a lot of real estate. Now, does it take a look? Is it instant? No. Something that frustrates me about real estate. I want things to happen. Okay, it's a process. But once you start doing this, Brenda, you're a true tester. Started slow, didn't it?
I don't have this, but I do it.
Right. And now you got some crazy award as a top single agent in company last year. And I remember Brenda came in and she went to every class. She came to Ignite, lots of things that I taught, my 6.5 steps class, things she could do it a couple times. And she done activities, but this is it. I should be doing this. I might start doing this. I need to be doing this. I'm kicking myself not having my team here right now. And they can then take this. I'm going to have them take the course that's coming out next week or at the end of the month with the new week coming. But it's that's where life gets in the way. I was like, oh my gosh, the night start. Man, I should have had that conversation with David and quietly set the expectation as the team leader of the team. This you all go to this. Okay. It's making that an expectation when I bring the agents on the team. Part of your training is you take Ignite the next time that it comes. Okay. All right, let's go to the next slide. Then lead follow-up, that's another key. We generate the lead and then following up on that lead. That's where, just how I do it, like I was telling you, I mean, command is going to be your best bet, but it's a lot to learn. And like for me, I need business now. And that's where Gary in the box comes in, and that's how I do it. But that's what I'm doing right now, and I'm trying to transfer that into my database, set up the task reminders, but carrying the box is real simple. Okay. Anytime I get a lead, I make a folder. No different than anytime you get a lead, you put them in your database. Same thing. Okay, so if you want to start with the database, I recommend doing that. But you got to learn it. I get frustrated too easy. Yeah, I don't have the time. Then I don't get it. I don't have my system down, but I've got my system down around my folder. So I create the lead, and then I've got a file box, and I've got January through December in the file box. And then right now we're in April. So in April, I have 1 through 30. And then in May, I've got 1 through 30. I went to Office Depot about those things. Then I get my lead, and I was like, and I called him, I had to leave the conversation. When do I need to talk to him next? Okay, if it's a week, and then we're on the 1st, I drop him in on the 7th. And then every day, and this is, I'm not doing it every day, I get behind, and I'm like, then I get a whole stack of people I didn't call in 7 days. And then I sit down for 2 hours, and then I just call. And then that's what I did Monday, and I set an appointment. So you can see if you block your lead generation time and you do something like that, then your follow-up is on point. If you did that Monday through Friday, and you create, okay, I'm not saying use the folder, I'm saying that works for me. Command does the exact same thing. You set your task. But what you got to do is you got to be in your dashboard of command Monday through Friday. As long as you do that, you're good. Where it gets tricky is, hey, my lead generation time is from 9 to 11. And the only time somebody can see a house is at 10:30 on Tuesday. And now, you're supposed to, if you erase it to go do that showing, you got to replace it. So then you move your lead generation time from 4 to 6. Okay, that's how you manage a time block time. So do what works. Command is amazing, powerful. Set your tasks, set your reminders in that. You got to learn how to do it first. Okay, so start. You got to think. You're launching a business or you're running a business that can make you $100,000 to $500,000. The guy got into real estate. So Christmas party with him one time. He was a bartender at Outback. He said, Troy, you should get into real estate. You do good. He did. And there's been years he's made more than $500,000. One of the top agents in the whole world. The income earning potential of this business is huge. And that's an opportunity. How committed are you? So it may be getting up at 7 and doing your learning command first from 7 to 8 every morning. You know, it's like, that's what I should be doing. So what this tells me right now as I'm talking is, I'm not really that, I'll be honest, I'm not being really good right now. Because I'm used to business kind of coming, but this is a different market and it's not just coming. And so then I'm short and I got to figure out, okay, where do I, rest? Because for a while there, I had some great income coming in and I got used to that lifestyle. And now it's like, I'm still wanting that lifestyle, but I'm not having the income that's coming in. That's kind of sucks. It's a little scary. I don't like pulling from savings and things like that. I've done a little bit of that. Just honest, and I don't like that. That set me back. And so that's one of the things I like about teaching is I realized a lot of some of my gaps as I'm teaching. It's like, so this is good for me because I'm going to go after this class and be like, I dang Craig, you committed to this. Because the opportunity that's there. So, anyways, and then the transaction, that's just we're going to be teaching classes around the transaction, bulletproof transaction, things like that. But don't do what I see most of the time in Ignite. And that is, I come back on the last session and there's 2 of them here. Be one of the 2 that's here, which would mean you all be here. Be committed to this because it is such an opportunity. I'm trying to inspire you and motivate you right now. but it is. I mean, I felt it. I've experienced it. Now took some big steps back, and it sucks. Now, got to get committed again and build it back. And that's what I'm trying to do. Okay. So we all have the same opportunity. It's just like, of all of us, who let's be the ones that are committed to really doing this. Okay. All right. So yes, there. Yeah, we're in Spark of the Career right now. Amy's we covered Embrace Your Job today after me. There's a session there's a part of my session that talks about Keller Williams, just to kind of educate you around the value of KW. When I sold the business, I wasn't an owner of Keller Williams anymore. I didn't have to keep Keller Williams. Still Keller Williams. Because of the value that's there. The people that are there, the knowledge that's there, networking opportunities, the events that I'm able to go to. Gosh, I can't drive this home more enough. Our region puts together so many amazing events. Sure, a lot of them are in Cincinnati. What you do, it's 2 hours. Go drive. Nothing pissed me off more than being a team leader. I can say this now. Nothing pissed me off more as a team leader than Gene Rivers was teaching in Cincinnati. And I would go up with a recruit to become an agent that wasn't even at our company. And that chick went from Southern Indiana. Our region in Keller Williams has so much high value content and trainers. It's basically they're bringing family reunion caliber stuff for our own backyard. Sometimes they bring it to Louisville, but take advantage of those opportunities. You network, you have a relationship. I've received referrals from people in Cincinnati because I went to those events. Okay, so anyways, we're going to talk about the value here. All right, nice. This is where I'm going to pause and take a second. I want to just keep talking. It's more interesting, but also we're going to give you the good content of the course. What's that? Oh. Yeah, igniting instills in all of us a new way of thinking. It's about having a success mindset with no doubts. Today we'll talk about unlimited mindset fueled by the 6 perspectives. I'll keep with you staff. KW culture, the value of working with KW in your market center. Just talk about that. KW resources that will set you up for success. I've showed you that. Your career vision, the daily success system. Talk about that. We're doing pretty good so far. That is going to supercharge your business throughout Ignite and beyond. This is a quote from Gary, the Millionaire Real Estate Investor. Anyone can do it, not everyone will you? Just talked about that. I've been honest, I've even thought about it. Maybe I'll just go do something else. Maybe I can get a job. Maybe with my experience and stuff, I can find a job that makes $150,000 a year. Then I just have a job. Then I think, gosh, I remember that year I made $375,000. I don't want a job. I want to be able to just take off, go to Florida, and still make $375,000. Okay, so anyone can do it. Not everyone will you? What's that mean? Just let's interact a little bit. What do you take from that quote that Gary says?
You have to drive.
Yeah.
You can't teach someone to drive. I don't know.
Right. And I do think you can get it, either having it know or you can make the decision. Which is actually, I'll come back here and teach my 6. Well, I'm going to cover a little bit. I'm actually going to give you the 6.5 steps after the 6 perspectives. 2 different things. 6 perspectives of KW things. The 6.5 steps is basically from KW to trainings, but it's a great little flair. What I think the 6.5 steps to build a successful business.
And go to that.
Yeah. All right, so these are the six personal perspectives that Gary created that basically he wanted to identify what makes a successful realtor. And it came down to these six things. Okay. Number one was they committed to self-mastery. That's this course. Okay. There's only two of you here at the end of the month. There's only two that committed to self-mastery. So committed to self-mastery is, hey, I'm gonna commit to go to one of the KW events, or I'm gonna go to 2 regional events this year, and I'm gonna read the MRA book, and I'm gonna build a system out around the night. And then you spend the time studying it and you implement it. That's self-mastery. Commit to the 80-20 principle. We're gonna go, it breaks it down in the slides here. 80-20 principle, we're gonna talk about that. Move to E to P. Moving to E to P, when Meg Pinella introduced me to that concept, that's when I made my decision to join Keller Williams, move to E to P. That's where I was struggling. I'll show you that. Being learning based, the foundation of your action plan kind of ties in with number one. Remove your limiting beliefs. We have a lot of limiting beliefs in this business, especially when we're new or newer. Even when you've been in a while. Be accountable. My limiting belief is I'm not a structured person. Okay, that's just me. I'm not a structured person, so I'm gonna handle my business haphazardly. So we're gonna break these down real quick, but I want to tell you to teach you about, and this isn't any of the course. I love everything I've done comes from KW and I've had to train that thought. This is something I came up with one time, and that's there's 3 kinds of real estate businesses. As a single agent, as a team, it's just wherever you are, there's 3 kinds of business. There's a purposeful, successful business. There's a haphazard. Spelling this wrong, probably. Haphazard, successful business. There's a haphazard, unsuccessful business. Those are the 3 types of businesses. The 80-20 rule. This is the 20%. Probably actually 10%, but this is the 80%. This is the 0% that doesn't make it. And this is me right now. That has been successful. That's 80% of most realtors. The ones that you see on stage, breaking down their one pager with Gary, that's 20%. I think in real estate, actually, maybe 90% haphazard successful and 10%. This is where I want to go. Even as a single agent, if I step back in like I was going to, I was just going to be a single agent, not do a team. There's people on stage with Gary Keller that make $1 million. That single agent. That's a small percentage, but it's doable. They didn't have any limiting beliefs. So that's just a little concept that I came up with that I said, man, what is the difference, from the ones that are on stage teaching their one pager or what they did to generate 100 sales from one source, an open house source. What is that? And what they did is it actually kind of goes back to E to P. So let's go over TCs real quick. Okay. So commit to self-mastery. You know your goals, you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses. Know how to work with both your strengths and weaknesses to seek mastery and necessary knowledge, skills, and habits to reach your goals. So that's kind of creating a plan at the beginning of the year. Like, what am I going to do this year to master? Like for me, I need to master time management. and working on the most important things, okay? And I can throw out all kinds of excuses on why I don't. But one of my biggest struggles is, I don't know, I need to use my sleep apnea machine more, but it's like sleep getting up. That's my weakness. I just tired and, 50 now, and it's like, golly, it's my energy is challenging. So and that impacts me. When I get up at 9 instead of 7 or 6, you wake up at 6, it's a different day than like that. It's embarrassing, just being real with you. So, how are you going to commit to self-mastery? In 80-20, 20% of our actions lead to 80% of our results. So our 20% is what is the most important thing? It's that one page right here. It's the 10-10-10. I mean, that's it. You do that from 9 to 11, Monday through Friday, you have 10 conversations. You can change that up too. You can, go to a coffee shop and put up a little tent that says, hey, bring real estate advice. And have your coffee and work on stuff. And I don't know, you get creative with stuff. But you identify how you enjoy lead generate. That's the cool thing. There's so many different ways to get business. It's identifying how you like to do it. Okay. But yeah, your 20% should be your lead generation. It's having conversations and then doing your follow-up. You break that up. If I'm going to show you how to break that up after this. At least 8% results. Because if I don't lead generate for a week and I'm like, oh crap, I need some pendings or had some closings. And then I take 4 hours one day and just started calling through my folders and I set an appointment. What's that tell you? What should my 20% do? I just need to do that every day. Okay, so this is E to P. Okay. And I'm trying, so this is what I'm kind of working on as well, but this, so E stands for what's entrepreneurial. And that's where I've operated mostly, but now that I know better and have the knowledge, I have to go to P. P stands for purposefully. Okay, so that's putting systems and models in place. So getting purposeful would be creating a time block schedule and following it. Okay, when you do that, see, when I'm not doing that, I'm like, boom, and I hit a ceiling, and then I regress, I get frustrated, I get tired. And I was like, oh man, or I go to a training or something, I get fired up. All right, I'm gonna do this. Yeah. But I'm not implementing any system or plan around it, and then I boom, hit a ceiling again. I say, God dang it. Maybe I need to go get a job. Until I implement some things like Ignite. I'm like, okay, I've got my database on. I have a tool in that database that's really helping me. And I've learned it and I've mastered it. That's a model. Boom, I just broke through a little ceiling. I'm having more success. You're going to hit another ceiling. That's where a distortion, that may be like, man, I closed 40 transactions last year by myself. I need to, what's a transaction coordinator model? What's a system? Yeah. Yeah.
We all talk about systems here at Keller Williams.
What's that?
We all talk about systems.
Yeah.
And what systems.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've opened to the MRA contract and I've read over 100 models.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm overwhelmed.
I'm gonna tell you
And I'm like,
that's part of my 6.
I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah. And I'm gonna show you something. It's part of my 6 to 8 steps class that breaks it down really simple.
Which model do I go to?
Exactly. Pick 3.
Okay, you'll get there.
Pick 3 lead generation sources and you build them out over 5 years. Pick your first one and you build it out over a year and a half. Not that you don't get business from other sources. So I'm not playing.
Sorry.
No, that's a perfect question. Because we throw out a bunch of stuff as you're teaching here and stuff, and it's just what other presenters say all the time. And it's like, what's that mean? It's kind of like I saw this YouTube reel, this reel on Instagram the other day. This guy says, oh, it's so funny. It's like, I'm so sick of going to a real estate training and they train about AI and they say this little cliche thing that every other trainer says that they heard at the last training. And it says, AI is not gonna replace the real estate agent. What's gonna happen is the real estate agent who uses AI is gonna be the one who's successful in real estate. You know, it's like, okay, well, what's that mean? You know, it's kind of like follow the model. Okay,
Oh, wow.
what's the model? Okay, that's where there is a lot. Just that, so you identify what's the model, you know, so there's a model for bring on, you know, if you're doing 40 deals, probably time to bring on leverage of a person. That's a model that you got to work. Bring on a person correct. So that's a model. That's a model of the organizational model of the MRE book. It's just like how to build a team. Because at that moment, you're building a team, even if it's just a per transaction personal. You stepped into the organizational model.
AI model.
Right. So now we're talking about lead generation. You identify the source. What's the model around that source to generate business? So there's 100 of those. And so I'm going to show you, I'm going to teach you how to identify the one that you want to do. Being learning based. Yeah. So that's going from E to P. Does that make sense? You know, because that's where when Meg explained this to me, I was trying to build a team. I didn't have any help. I didn't know what I was doing. And I came to KW and I saw the model was there. And I was like, well, that's the model to break through. And then that's what I started doing. But then I stopped selling because I became a team leader and I had learned a whole new set of skills. Being learning based, the foundation of your action plan. So that is where you know the step to come here today is what you did. You know, you're being learning based. The follow through is just as important to that. You know, so as it says here, true pursuits, know for knowing sake, taking space. I know what I know, and I'll know more anything else. Or learning based, and know what I know, and there's more to know. And then it's implementing it, productivity on side, our self-actualization. But this basically is meaning is you're making the choice to be learning based to learn. Like all the stuff I'm throwing out here right now, the language I'm teaching and like that, that's everything that I've learned on this company. Before I came to this company, I don't know what I was doing. I was just lucky. And I knew a lot of people. And I was doing some stuff that were systems, like I was a big fan of postcards. Every other month I sent 600 postcards to my 600 top people. I just learned that somewhere and I did that. And I felt that's kind of gave me a leg of the business and got into the business, you know, but there was cost to it. But that was good. So I was doing some things I just didn't know I was doing until I learned. Neither especially clever nor especially gifted. I'm only very, very curious. Yeah, so I think that's what this business, like what Albert's saying here is, you know, I'm not clever, I'm not especially gifted. I'm just, this kind of goes along with being learning based. I'm just curious. Like, how is someone implementing these systems in a real estate business to have success? Okay, you came to this class and I'm getting ready to show you. Okay. Limiting beliefs, you know, remove your limiting beliefs. I've got to remove my limiting belief around just saying I'm unorganized. That's just the way that I am. Okay. That's a limiting belief. That's a choice. If I stick to that, I'm really just choosing to be lazy around being committed to being organized. I can get organized. It may take me a little bit more. I mean, I definitely think I'm a little ADD and I've got behavioral challenges around getting organized and how my mind works, but I've got to make the choice to figure out how to work through that. But yeah, I don't have enough time for training. I can't be successful in this market. And I learned this one time from Linda McKissick. She's like, it doesn't matter if it's a good market or a bad market. What matters is you sell the number of houses you want to sell in that market. So if selling 36 houses is going to make you the money, you know, I mean, that's going to be $100,000. Are there going to be 36 houses that sell in Louisville, Kentucky and sell in Indiana this year? Yeah. You just need 36. That's the way to think about it. I can't devote 3 hours each day to lead generation. Okay. Now, lead generation is not just 3 hours of lead generation. It's broken down into an hour of follow-up, or I like starting with an hour of follow-up because those are warm calls. But if you just focus on your follow-up, you're just following up. You're not generating new business to follow up on later. So you also want to block out new lead generation. Maybe people you met at an open house, you haven't talked to since the open house. That's kind of generating lead or something that comes in off the website. And you spend time on going out after new business. Certain prospecting. That's just somehow finding the numbers of people that live around the listing that maybe it's not your listing, maybe it's a Keller Williams listing in a neighborhood. And you just circle, call people and just say, hey, there's a house in your neighborhood that's on the market. I'm just curious if you know anybody that's looking to move into your neighborhood. Same neighborhood you live in, and not just who do you know that might be interested in. So that's called sort of but you can devote the time because if you're in a job, that's 8 hours a day that you're in a job. So 3 hours is 3 hours. Just gotta block that time. And I'm telling myself that too. And being accountable. This is okay. This is going to be good for me. Someone who's accountable seeks reality awareness. I'm realizing I'm aware of not reality. Okay. I hold myself accountable to not. I know that I'm not. Doesn't seek reality. I just don't ask questions. Acknowledge just reality, clear. This is the way it is. I got it. See what's going on. Someone who's not accountable, denies it. They fight reality. Own it. Someone who's accountable, they own it. Like I'm doing right now. I'm owning that I'm not degenerating like I should. So what am I going to do about that? That's the next one. Find solutions. Okay. If I'm not lead generating and I own it, and I acknowledge it, I recognize in reality, what's the solution, Craig? What are my options? How can I get what I want? What can I do? And then it comes down, I got to make the decision to do it. Get on with it. 5 more minutes. What are some ahas that you got from our little time together so far? I like the word takeaway better.
So going to the team thing, I realize that some stuff is natural to me, but an extra the stuff that you can avoid, like we're not doing something. Do it.
Yeah.
I've done it before, and I just don't do it.
Yeah. So nice system. Yeah, it's something I want to do. But what can I do? What can I put in place that's going to break me through that ceiling? Actually, what's another takeaway? Yeah.
Right, I'll say it's a good reminder to consider the fine line and often while we get interested in something versus actually.
Yeah, committed. How committed are we?
Or are you just interested?
Yeah. How committed are we? I'm still asking myself that question. How committed are you, Craig? Because it's not as there was a time where it felt easy. That ain't this time. That's where I've got to be like, okay, Craig, are you really committed to doing this? Because the overhead's different with the team and the overhead's different as a single agent. There's less risk and less overhead with a single agent. It's like, am I committed to the team? Or should I just be a single agent? I love the team aspect, building that. No, I can do it. It's just, but now I ask myself, how committed am I really doing it? So yeah. Thanks. One more takeaway so far.
Aaron, who do you need to become in order to achieve the success level that you want?
And never really understand that, but now I had already had an aha moment as far as I need to be purposeful and add strategy. And so with the eat it, just really be purposeful about what it is, what skill set I need to develop in order to be purposeful and for it to reach my goal. So
Yeah. It goes back to this,
20%.
okay? We're just going about our day and we're, okay, what am I, like, when we wake up without knowing what we're gonna step into that day, like, that's haphazard. That's okay some days. But really, is it? Maybe if we're hitting our goals, but if we're not hitting our goals, it's not okay to be haphazard. If those are really our goals, you know, how committed are we to those goals? Yeah, this is fun stuff. This stuff. But yeah, what you're saying is who do I need to become to create a purposeful, successful business? Okay. So if your goal is to really sell 36 homes a year as a single agent, who do you need to become to do that? If you plan to do that haphazardly with 2 Z's, which I don't think is right. Or are you going to do that purposefully and actually do it? Because our odds go down when we're doing it haphazard of that actually happening.
Right, speaking to that, physically, just energetically.
Say that again.
And so physically, energetically, you feel totally different. When you're operating with purpose versus just running up with fires, haphazardly attacking, it's more mentally draining, physically draining. And it's just an easier way to operate when you're more purposeful.
Yeah, someone asked me the other day. It was a starter conversation on the dating app, and she said, what happens to happen at the end of the day to feel that it was successful? I thought it was an interesting question. And I was like, I kind of didn't know the answer. It was bad. I was like, Golly, what is that? You know, what has to happen for me to go home and feel that it was a successful day?
I won the day.
Right. It was probably having 10 conversations in real estate, writing 10 notes. I mean, if you want to get specific around an industry, that I would at least feel successful around that I did what I was supposed to do to be successful in my business. That's what, and I hugged my kids and I planned the trip, whatever. Yeah.
So then again, I'm thinking that I'm gonna have to say myself completely, but a lot of what you're saying, what I did at that time, like my first year blogging, having success. I went into the cafeteria, I ran into people, I was like, yay. But it was draining in reaction.
Yes.
Because I was pivoting.
Yeah.
My second year, I think it was a plan, I knew exactly what we did. I still had those haphazard moments for some of the pain, and I had to pivot, but it wasn't as I was making no success.
You were more
Already
purposeful, you
more-
probably had more success that second year. See, that's the great thing, because I still want to get to your answer around breaking up that thing, so let's I'm gonna pivot to that. I'm just gonna throw this in there real quick, this class that's usually an hour. And for 3 years from today, what do I have to be happy with your progress? Good question to think about. 6.5 steps. I'll cover these 6.5 steps real fast. Step 1, get clarity around your life and your why. What do you want? Okay. Mine was always when I'm 50, I'm going to work because I want to, not because I have to. It actually happened when I was 46. But then it didn't. I didn't take into account things that happened in life. And now I'm 50 and I'm working because I have to. Okay. So I got to set a new goal, but that was my why. And then my financial coach said one time, okay, what's that mean? You want to work because you want to when you're 59 because you have to. And then he said, get clarity around that. And I got clarity around that after hanging up that call, and I wrote out what my life would be like if that was the case. I'd be able to focus on relationships. I'd be able to focus on my family. I'd be able to do experiences. I would still be drawing in income. I would still be working because I enjoy it. I got real clear. So step one in the 6 steps is to get clear on what you want. What do you want happening financially and personally in 3 years? And then build a plan out in order to do that.
And these steps aren't in this.
No, this
Okay,
is,
so-
I'll come back in May and I'll teach this class, okay? So just get clear around what you want. Go without a plan is just. Okay, step 2, you gotta build your habits. This is everything we're talking about. Gotta be disciplined. I don't like the word discipline, but it's reality. That's why I like the word habits better. Habits are nothing but discipline. It's just when it comes to habit, it's, you know, you're doing it. But you gotta be disciplined around it. You gotta be disciplined. So that's the second step. First thing you gotta be disciplined with. That's why discipline becomes before time management, is you gotta be disciplined with your time management. That's number one. How are you gonna manage your day? Everybody has 24 hours in a day. What causes the agent that's selling 36? It's a single agent, and the one that sells 5. What's the difference in their time management? I bet there's a difference in their time management. Of course, skills come into play, but the one that's selling 36 probably spent some time working on their skills. The one that sell 5 probably didn't. Now, if 5's your goal, great, you're hitting your goal. But the third step is you got to be disciplined on managing your time. This is my little thing about the job. You know, all these things up here, all these roles, someone works at Ford, someone works in the medical office, someone works at UPS, someone works at Home Depot. 9 to 5, they have a job to do. Okay, they don't do it, they lose their job. Same thing as a realtor. What's your job from 9 to 5? What's your job from 8 to 4? What's your job from 8 to 7? And on what schedule you're going to keep. Okay, this is a breakdown of a agent's perfect week. This is straight out of bold. Okay, what's your business look like if you really lead generated from 8:30 to 11:30 every day? What's your business look like if that's what you did? Do you still have time to go on appointments? Do you still have time to do lunch and still be done by 5 o'clock? Okay, because you're not going to have an appointment. Okay, so let me explain this time block schedule. Should be exercising. Okay, stay healthy. But I want to redo this because I want the follow up to be at the top, kind of get warmed up, you know, have some good conversations with people that already know you. So flip that around. So from 8:30 to 9, just kind of preparing who you're going to call. For me, it's getting your folders all organized. For you, it might be going into your dashboard and saying, okay, who I need to call today. Come 9 o'clock, I'm doing my follow up. Who am I following up with these people? Okay. Then you're going after new business. Okay, who can I call that's new business? That can be your website development, however you generate that. Then lunch, your thing next. You know, then look, you got a lot of time for lunch, take a little breather in between. And then you preset your times that you're going to do appointments. The first thing you do is you block out the time that you're not going to work, or you're going to go on a vacation. Plan all that out the whole year before. Okay, I'm going to take this month or this week off for Florida, and you know, and I'm not going to work on Wednesdays and Fridays. So you may have to set appointments on Wednesday, then you just don't set an appointment on, and you erase it, you must replace it. So then you just move this over there and you do the appointment on Wednesday. But then as your lead generation, your goal is to sell or fill up 1 to, you know, we'll say 3 appointments. The numbers show that if you go on 2 legitimate appointments a week, that will yield 36 closed transactions. Now that isn't necessarily a pre-list appointment where you're just going for the first time and you're looking at the house, and that's a legitimate, hey, they could be potentially ready to sign. So if you throw in one of those, hey, just the first, let's go look at the house, to kind of, see if they might want to sell in 2 months or 3 months, or just kind of initial game plan, that's great. So you may want to set 3 appointments, one of those, and then a buyer consultation when they're getting ready to buy it. Or sellers like, yeah, we want the price on the market 2 to 3 weeks. That's a legitimate. So the goal is to set, but you pre-block all these, so that way when you're talking to them, you're controlling the time. You say, hey, yeah, well, does it make sense? Why don't we get together next week? If that's Friday, why don't we get together next week? What works? I could do 1:30 on Tuesday or 5 o'clock on Tuesday. Does that work? Which one of those works? And then, so that's it. Then your block time for script practice, partner, coaching, business planning. That's where you're working on the stuff that we're talking about, your models, your systems. If you've got pendings, makes it, you're working on pending transactions, paperwork systems, listing maintenance. If you don't have pendings, then it turns into business visioning and business planning. If you set 3 appointments, you've got time here to do everything else. Do more lead generation or work on your projects, or work on your systems. Okay, so if I didn't set any appointments for this day on Thursday in my work day as a realtor, then I'm just going to watch command training and I'm going to learn command. So we're running out of time. All right. Step 4. This is the step we usually skip in real estate. We don't spend time learning what to say. So we don't do our role playing. It's like, okay, if I'm going to call for sale by owner, oh wait, I'm not calling for sale by owner because I've never practiced what I'm going to say when I call for sale by owner. So I don't call them. Well, what if I spend an hour once a week with somebody else who wants to call for sale by owners, and we just practice for an hour? Just did that for 1 month, 4 hours in a month. You're going to be more comfortable picking up that phone and calling for sale by owner, or creating your plan around it. You drop by a packet that's your for sale by owner plan, then you have a reason to call them. Hey, I brought by one to make sure, did you get my packet that I dropped off? Yeah, we got that. What questions did you have about that? That's all your script. So that's the 4th step is block. That's why I have it in the time block schedule. Time to practice what you're going to say for your model around your lead generation source. So if your model for the 1-pager is for sale by owners, because I know there's probably 4 of them out there. Pick one, and then that's what you do. And that's what you do on the times that you didn't set an appointment in your time block schedule. Work on your 1-pager. Work on your model of your 1 lead generation source. Scripts. Going to words to a song makes singing in your car with the windows down a lot more fun, right? Same thing with calling for sale by owner, calling your sphere, calling an expired listing, circle prospecting. Yeah, if we don't practice what we're saying, what do you say if you have a listing, someone calls you on that listing? I had a call the other day on that listing of the one I had in Milton. And they're like, hey, how much is that? And I was like, I don't even know. Yeah. I could not remember how much it was. So what's the model I need to put in place there? I need to carry with me at all times sheets of my listings. At that point, I had several listings, and I could not answer that question. I was felt like, man, if my seller knew that right now, I pissed me. It wasn't good. So I could have, that could have been, that was on my listing, so that would have been a double-sided. And I didn't know the price. Ouch. Okay. Greg needs to button up his system. So what that tells me, because otherwise I'm practicing so when someone calls in on your listing, you should know, say the same thing every time. That should be like, hey, Greg, once I pull that price up, people want calls on that. What price range are you looking at? That's what it says. Yeah, I'll pull up that listing. What price range are you currently looking at? That's a script that I want to what's in bold. And then you're pulling up the listing. I just answered the phone as I was getting out of my car going to an appointment, and I didn't want to let it just go to voicemail. I probably should have just let it go to voicemail. I was a little rattled. I don't know. And then, but yeah, if you don't know your scripts, you're kind of practicing on a potential $10,000 sale. I taught this class in Tampa, and they got some big houses down there. So sometimes it's a $50,000 commission. You could be winging it on don't want to wing it. You got a potential buyer that could make you $10,000. You don't know what you're gonna say, you're winging it. So practice. Then using what you know what to say, lead generation. Do the lead generation. That's where, that's having the conversations. And then as you practice, you go to more trainings, you'll learn how to do it more effectively. And then what to say, then you're gonna create a plan on what to say. That's your lead generation strategy. So this gets into your question about the models and what to do, okay? So I learned this directly from Gary Keller on a phone call that he did one time for team leaders, and hardly anybody was on the call. And I was wow, this is cool. Gary's on here. And he got up on a tangent and he taught this, and I've never forgotten it. And I'm working on implementing it right now. And I realized where I screwed up. Currently, and I'll explain how, but he basically said this. So this is picking. So there's all kinds of models. Okay, there's the 4 models with MREA, which is the economic model. Basically, that's just like, okay, if I want to sell this many houses, it's how many appointments do I need to go on? All that. That's a model for the business. We've got the budget model, so that's just how to create a budget. So that's a model. The most important one is the lead generation model. Okay, that's how we're going to generate the leads. Because that's our job every day. Find a buyer who wants to sell, or a seller who wants to sell. But a buyer who wants to buy or a seller who wants to sell. That's it. Okay. That's the model we got to figure out. Okay. We've got 3, I think, 1-pager playbooks that are all ways to generate business. So what Gary said, and this is where it's the pillar. Like I said, we're not in the business of selling real estate. We're in the business of finding the lead that allows us to sell real estate. He said, we identify 3 major pillars, okay, to generate a lead. And this is nothing but a lead generation source. So that's a source. This is a source. This is a source. And then he said 3 small ones over a 5-year period. So he said you pick one. Now, in my opinion, and I think Gary would agree with me on this, the one that we should be focused on right now, and this is the one I'm focused on right now because I'm relaunching my business, and that is my database. Build my database out according to the MRA model. Okay, he says you spend 3 months learning about the system. So you're going to start with reading the MRA lead generation model right there. That's your first step. And then you're going to study that. And then, that's say month 1. Month 2 is you're going to do the 66-day challenge. We're going to get into almost at the edge. You're going to get into command. You're going to get into command and you're going to learn how to use your database. That's month 2. And then month 3, you'll be uploading people into your database. You're going to be building out your smart plans and your drips, your follow-up on your tasks, things like that. In 3 months, you can do that. Okay. And then he says, and then you spend a year implementing that plan. And then it's working. And then at the end of while it's working, you document that system. And for me, because I like paper, I'm going to create a little binder, type it all out, and I'm going to have a binder of this database system. That way I can duplicate it. That way I bring a new agent onto the team and say, hey, here's our lead generation system for our database. This is how you do it. Okay. And in a year and a half, in just a year and a half, you should be, whatever your source is, should be systematically throwing you off 1 to 2 closings a month. Is the goal. And then every year you're enhancing that, you're making it better, you're doing something else. So that continues to grow. So now, let's say it's just 1. At the end of the year and a half, it's systematically, you're going to have 12 closings just from that 1 lead source. Okay. So that's your model that I'm talking about. Okay. There's 100 different lead generation sources models. You just find the one you like and enjoy. In my opinion, our database should be number 1. You really can't start getting creative until the second. And that's where you're like, I like open houses. Okay, so now, in the next year and a half, for the next 3 months, you're learning command. And you're building that system out, you're doing that, okay, and then a year, now, you're gonna have business coming in other ways, you're gonna, work on 3 open houses a month, you're gonna get a deal that way, you're gonna do that, you're gonna. Use some tools and a questionnaire where people come in, and go to another class, or hear something at a team meeting. You're gonna learn that. So that's these 3 other, so you said. So let's say open house is your next, okay? So then you research who are top agents that, then you go to the 1-pager on open houses, find the 1-pager on open houses and connect. Or I'm sure they have the resource here of all the books or something. You find the one you want, make a photocopy of it. You spend 3 months studying that, watching videos, maybe up in KW, you go to YouTube and say, agent open houses or successful agents in open houses. And then you watch them teaching how they do open houses. So you do that for 3 months. And then a year of executing it and tweaking it. And then once it's working, you've got your system down, and 3 months of documenting it. Okay, and then you're closing 12 homes from that. Okay. Possibly more. So then as you're doing your business, you're still, you're going to church and someone's like, hey, Craig, I need to sell my house. So you're getting those deals too. But what this does is this makes your business sustainable. So let's say this other one is expired listings. So we're going to start seeing some of those now. Listings expired. You research for 3 months, a year of implementing a plan. That falls into my lead generation time. So it's like, okay, on Mondays and Tuesdays, I call expired. On Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm calling my database. And then I do 4 open houses a month. There you go. And then you've got your businesses, you get the 3 models of lead generation that you follow. And 12, 20, so 24, 36. So yeah, so you're at 36. There's your 36 transactions on top of others. The other 3 pillars, what Gary said was you pick some smaller pillars. So it may be, okay, my smaller pillar is going to be social media. I'm going to do 10 likes, 1 post, or 2 posts a week.
5 meaningful. Conversations.
Yeah, 5 messages, meaningful conversations through Messenger or something. Okay, so that's a smaller pillar. Now that's something you can knock out in 30 minutes every day. Okay, that's a smaller pillar. But you're building out your big pillar. So he says you pick 3 small ones. So don't do what I did. I thought that because I've been in the business for so long, and I sat back in, don't realize my business, I took on 3 at once. And I'm so overwhelmed right now. So I'm trying to build out 3 big pillars at once, thinking I can do it, and I can't. So mine was the database. Another one was a home buyer seminar that's online once a month. I did my first one. I had 30 people show up, paid big money to this company, but it worked. But my follow-up was horrible because I had no plan in place. And I just dropped the ball because I was also working on my database, lofty, and then my third one. Anyway, Leo, what's that tell you? I just need to be focused on my one, learning my database, my system at a high level. So that's what Gary said. So that's what I want you to be. Don't be overwhelmed with all the material. When it comes down to your lead generation and your one model, it's like pick the model. You don't have to start with your database. If you love open houses, things like that, you may build your model around open houses. But you also got to do your lead generation and stuff as well. Okay. And step 6, what's going to hold you accountable to doing all this? Like I need accountability. So I've got a coach. I'm getting ready to get back to my coach. I need accountability. Someone to really call me. But I took a break from my coach because I wasn't being called out. So when I stepped back in working with him, I said, Chuck, I need you to call me out. I'm not doing what I say I'm going to do. And then the half step, this is kind of the glue that holds it all together. The half step is making the decision to do 1 through 6. We're either going to make the decision to do it or we're not. I've still got to make the decision. I'm going to do it the way that I know I need to do it. I just need to wake up earlier. Because I gotta, for me, it's a time thing. I need more time to do it because I'm doing so much, and it's pretty sad that, or I need to get up early. So going back to the slides, and we'll give you a little break. Yeah, the KW resources, talked about those a lot already. All the KW culture. Worry about that. It's creating, something you can do on your own. That's probably part of some of the classes. Creating your, what's my mission? What's my vision? What are my values, beliefs, perspective around all that? Our company's vision is build careers worth having, businesses worth owning, lives worth living, experiences worth giving. That's my big thing. I want to give my daughters experiences where they're grown. Then hopefully after that, I can do stuff with legacy is worth leaving. And hopefully I can leave a legacy. Callie's not a big into school, college. She continued for college to be a realtor. It's like, no, she's like, oh, I want to be a realtor. Our belief system, win-win or no deal, integrity, always do the right thing. Customers come first, commitment in all things. We talked about that. Communications, be first to understand. Creativity, ideas before results. Teamwork, trust, equity, opportunities for all, success, results for me. A little bit more about our stuff. Going to be value, market centers. We talked about that. This is a lot of KW's value. But there's so much value with the owners of this market center. They know the trainings they bring in, the Zooms that they bring in. And we had down at Costa for just our office. It's,
Can you stay there for just a second? That's because those are old.
okay.
And in 2025, we were the tech trendsetter. 2026, America's Most Admired Workplaces from Newsweek. 2025 Best Led Company. We were the only real estate company that was the best led company. Top global franchises for women. Savannah Pool Power 200, all those in 2025 top 2024 top franchises for veterans. So, others.
Yeah.
It's older, but we continue to win all kinds of awards. And
But all those awards don't mean anything unless you plug yourself in.
100%.
Plug yourself into the things. And there's a lot of stuff we covered today. You're already probably feeling like drinking from a fire hose. Just focus on the activities. And whether you start today or you start tomorrow, make the 10 calls, the 10 handwritten notes. Okay, yeah, I think that's what Amy's doing. So I'm good at saying, I did that all weekend as I was eating burgers and french fries. I'm like, all right, Monday, I'm starting my clean eating, Then this weekend, I just totally fell off the whack. So talk about Command. The KW app, I just downloaded mine. Unfortunately, I don't have to use the Command. I may still switch back. It's a lot of money. But I hate to have invested so much time into it already. Switch, but the Command app, I logged into it and it looks good. So you just go to KW Command, download it, and it logged me in just like I logged in on my desktop. The other KW app that consumers use, just good to have that to practice on it, see what consumers use. And this is, just things that you can use from your market center to get you if you don't have any listings, market center stuff and use the market center's numbers. So we talked about that stuff. Passive income, resources. Your career vision. So it's also figuring out, this kind of gets to the first step. This is the first step in my 6.5 steps. What do I want? What do you want for your life out of the room? What do you want real estate to do? real estate's just a vehicle for a lot of things, but ultimately it's kind of a vehicle for our income, if that's what we're doing for income. So 1 year from now, ask yourselves these questions. Like ask them now or 1 year from now. It's like, do I still want to be, floundering around my pillars or, oh, and I know, what's funny is I took on 3, I can't remember the third one, but I am focusing on the database. Okay, so I am clear on that. And I'm clear that at the end of the year, that it's going to be firing with smart plans, follow-up touches on things that I'm not doing. My team's following a process on how they follow up with their dashboard, things like those things. So I do have clarity on this one. And that makes sense because that's what Gary said to do. I'm done for doing it my way. When I should just do it the way that the book says and Gary says. That your business is thriving, your life is everything you dreamed of, your customers rate, these are all the things that you can put in what you want 1 year from now. And then, yeah, it's like your vision. What do you want to make? Real estate, and then work backwards. That's where the economic model comes in, is breaking that down. So if I want to close 36 transactions, how many appointments do I need to go on? How many contacts do I need to make? How many conversations do I need to have? This stuff that's because you're a realtor, all this stuff doesn't just happen and pop in your head. You know what you've got to do. You do have to, so it's probably 2 to 3 hours of lead generation, an hour and a half of reading and studying these things. In my opinion, it's the ignite and the MRA book. And then you make that a part of your daily plan, your daily activities. Set some goals around some stuff. To achieve success, you need motivation and inspiration for doing it. And that's your big why. That's why I have that step as your number 1. And I did that one time. I was so clear on it. And then I created a plan on making it happen. And it did happen. I was like, holy cow, I did it early. But it wasn't shift proof. It wasn't people proof. I took my eye off the ball. And I got too comfortable too quick. And, and it shifted on me. So now, now I got to set a new plan. Okay, now it says at 55 that I'm doing that, or it's at 60 or whatever it is. But I did taste it. It's like I want to go back to it. Your commission dollars, where do they go? That's basically when you have commission, some of it goes to taxes. You're not capped yet. Some of it goes to your market center. Then some of it goes to your business expenses. This gets into the budget model and understanding that. And the rest is your take home. So it's knowing what you do. So if you have 36 closings, what's that money breakdown look like? And that's really kind of reading through the budget model and understanding that. Here's what's left. Yeah, so net income goes. So company dollar royalty cap, our cap isn't that much. Our cap, what's the cap? It's 12. Oh, yeah, 12 and then 12% there. Yeah, there's different models and stuff, so it's not that high. But let's say a market center where their cap is 30,000, because there are some market centers like that, higher price point markets. But the net income goes 100, your business expenses are 50. You sell 20 homes, your typical commission is 9,000. Total gross income is 180. Business expenses 50. Company dollars 30. Then you net 100,000. So I think we've got a better opportunity because our cap's not that much, and you can probably run your business where it's not 50,000 a year, but it's following the models around that. So you can figure yourself out what's here. So I think that's kind of my section today. What's kind of one? Give me 2 takeaways from kind of what you learned today.
It's important to make time, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Important to make time for, obviously, when generation we're breaking it down, and never really thought like, okay, I have to do this on a daily basis. ways for like those folks not having to pay attention to the database, and spot and stuff.
Break kind of down. It's just having a plan around it. You know, so we don't step in knowing what we're gonna do and what to call, we just kind of freeze. Well, that's part of the model. It's like, okay, you gotta set the time up to create that model. Okay. Who am I gonna call each of these days, you know? You may start slow, once you create that, and then you start implementing it, that's when it starts becoming the plan of the system, the model. And then it gets more comfortable. Then it starts getting the cadence around it. Would you say self-discipline? Yeah. I think that's what my takeaway is. You know, I love teaching because I leave and I get in my car and I'm like, okay, do what you freaking said in that class, Craig. You know, because the potential is so great. You know, it's like, what am I leaving on the table for myself, my kids, my family, and what I really want? Because it is a little bit of business, honestly. But I'm also driven. So, thanks, guys.
Yeah. Click on this or scan this, scan this and evaluate Craig, please. And then we're gonna have about a 10-minute break, get up, walk around. I'm gonna zip through this. She went late.
Oh, I didn't know it was around 10:30 was fine.
I know. What time is
Well,
it?
it's only 10 minutes.
Plus a little break, but no, get up, walk around, introduce yourself to someone else. I was 10 minutes late, so I don't know.
Oh, you know what? We did.
Okay, well then we'll do that too. Yeah, introduce yourself to somebody else because we're going to find accountability partners. And this from.
Yes. I don't know. I have to job. Ready? So I don't think I understand. Yeah.
But like I said, the last person, I'll meet with you. How much do you do?
Yeah, but